My name's Jeff St Laurent. This is a live Tuesday call, and just a minute I'm going to be bringing on one of my good friends, and I would call her the master web developer, Lynn Coffey. She's someone I connected with several years ago, and it was a great time because, I was obviously, as I work and help with coaches transition to full-time business, one of the things that they need at some point is a website, and I was just really disappointed with all the people that I was connecting with, and even I love my website, but I'd done it before I met Lynn, and but there were some things I wasn't happy with, and whereas I couldn't really necessarily recommend them fully. After talking with Lynn and learning more about what she offers, I was like, oh my God, you were like a godsend, because I'm like, I have these people that I need to refer them to somebody that I can trust. And she was that person, and since then we've done a few calls on my Live Tuesday call, so I've got her back again, and we're going to really help you guys really understand what's necessary and things to watch out for, and so you can do it right the first time, if you will. But before we get going, and I bring Lynn on, and she's warming up in the bullpen, just to let you know that I record all these calls, and I post them each and every week on Fridays in my university. So my website is sellingcoaching.com. So go there, check out the university. Got a lot of great information, and as you guys know, if you're just new to me, I like to get real specific and provide you with a lot of value. So this isn't just fluff stuff. This is the real stuff that's going to help you transition to full-time. And then right on my homepage at sellingcoaching.com, I've got a fantastic resource called The Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. Of course, I try and bribe you with my dog. Haha. It's a little humor in marketing, but definitely check that out. I want you to get that resource, and then also when you do that, that's going to put you in my email community. And as I always like to tell people, I want you there, not just because I want you to receive the valuable information that I send every week, but I also want you to start to see and understand how you can utilize your email to stay in front of your audience, which is a vital piece of our marketing and building a community of our own, and ultimately being able to monetize it for your products and their services. And then lastly, before we get going, I know some of you that are out there are in a position where you need some guidance, filling in the missing pieces. Maybe you're frustrated already, or maybe you don't want to get there. I'm available for one-on-one mentoring, and if it's something you're considering, just go to sellingcoaching.com under the Work With Me page. Scroll to the bottom. I've got a great form there. You can fill that out. That comes directly to me, and I'll follow up with you personally. I'll give you a call. We can create a relaxed conversation, and we can just decide what's appropriate and the proper steps to move forward from there. But with that being said, I don't want Lynn to wait any longer. Welcome, Lynn, to the call again.
Thank you. My arms warmed up from the bullpen, so I'm good.
Yes. And why I say that is, like, years ago, my mentor, who I learned from years ago, he always had a Tuesday call, and whenever he'd have a guest on, he'd always be like, they're warming up in the bullpen. So this is kind of like, you got to replicate your mentors,
Carry the tradition.
Exactly. So I'm glad you're warm. So, yeah, Lynn, as always, for the people that don't know you, to get us going a little bit, just kind of maybe share a little bit about yourself, not only as a professional, but I think as a person as well, because those are some of the qualities that, when I say I was attracted to you with, is not just a great professional, but I was just like, wow, she's just good. She's a good person, So I want someone listening to this, especially if their first exposure to you, just to kind of get to know you a little bit better as well.
Sure. I'll start with the fun personal stuff. I think before you hit the record button, we were talking about Maine, and you talked about Mount Katahdin, and that is the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail. And one of my absolute favorite things to do is read books about people's journey on the Appalachian Trail, because it's just them for like 6 months, like hiking alone in the forest, and the stuff that they learn and realize, and all the little life lessons. I love reading those types of books. So anyway, throw that out there.
That's cool to know, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you had been to Katahdin. So yeah, I'm actually, as you said, my name is Lynn. I am married. I'm a mom of 3. And one of the cool things about my kids is they all started out as foster children, and they're all almost adopted. We're at the step right before the final 2 get adopted. But they are 4 years old, 2 years old, and 1 year old. So I have a lot of gray hair.
Growing quickly.
For the craziness that they bring.
Yeah.
And let's see, one really cute kid story today my 4-year-old told me on the way to dropping them all off at school. He said, Mommy, me and Micah and Junie, we're going to turn you into a rock. That way we can keep you forever and ever. And that just was really cute. It kind of melted my heart. So
that was really cute.
Yeah, then he went on to talk about it, he's going to put me in a cage with a frog and put me underwater so I can get something to eat. And it went really weird. I don't know where he went with it, but the first part was cute.
Exactly, yeah. Kids are fun.
Yeah, you never know what they're going to say.
Hmm.
So that's kind of me personally. Professionally, I got my start actually not doing website stuff. I kind of fell into this business over 10 years ago. But basically, I was in the health and fitness industry and was looking for a way to basically maximize my time. And I didn't want to be location specific. So I was looking at doing some sort of an online business. And, 10 plus years ago, that was still really, really radical and kind of new. And what I ended up doing was teaching myself, how to build a website, how to optimize the website so that, I could send traffic there. When traffic got there, how do I get people to interact with me? How do I get leads? How do I get opt-ins? Once I had those, how do I then continue on to nurture those people, to develop a relationship with them until they ultimately purchase from me? And that was a huge learning, learning curve. But what ended up happening was I found that I loved doing that stuff more than actually training people online. And so my business kind of shifted dramatically, within like a month or something, where I ended all my training clients and just took on a bunch of website clients and just, again, loved it. It's oddly enough kind of what I'm passionate about, and been doing it all these years. So the really big thing that kind of sets me apart, because there's tons of webmasters out there, but the thing that sets me apart is I don't just build somebody a nice-looking website. The goal is to teach them how to use the website to grow their business. And so that's, I think, where you and I really connect. It's like, okay, you start a business, but you have to have these assets in place so that when you do marketing or when you spend money on advertising or when you're networking or when you're doing whatever it is, you're able to ultimately grow the business, whatever that might mean for you. So that's sort of a quick snapshot.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I love about what you talk about is the assets, and that's one of the things that connected me with you is that you weren't just like, when I say an average web designer, in the sense that most of them, it's like they can make you a pretty website, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but pretty's one thing, but pretty doesn't mean that you're going to have, if you will, the assets that you need on the website to get what you need to grow your audience and actually get paid and have a business, right?
Yeah, and what I eventually, learned, and I'm able to now, boil it down to this, which is a really interesting way to look at it. There's two pieces to a website. There's the design, and then there's the stuff you put into that design. And a lot of times when you hire a traditional web designer, they can create a beautiful design for you, but that's only one piece of it. That the design has to look nice, but it has to convert, and which I'm sure we'll talk about in this call. But the other piece to that, which is often left out, is what you put into the design. In other words, what type of copy should you have? What type of offers? What type of what should your about page look like? And oftentimes that's sort of the secret sauce of what gets websites to work. And so I don't know, I talk a lot about that there's two pieces. You have to have a website design that converts, but the stuff you put into the website is just as important.
Yeah. So let's start off there, and so if there's someone listening to this now or the recording at some point, and they're in a position where it's like whether they're, oh my God, I hate my website, or I need to redo it, or I'm like, all right, I need a website, and where do I go? Tell me this. So where are you going to start someone off?
Yeah. So when I start talking to somebody, whether they have a site or not, isn't usually the big question. Because even if they have a site, if they're talking to me, then the site's usually not performing or it's underperforming. So the first thing that we do is take a look at the layout, because that's kind of one of the easier things to fix. But the other thing is it's also the thing that if your layout is really, really, kind of wonky, it doesn't matter how good the stuff in it is if people are kind of like overwhelmed by your site. Now, let me take a step back and explain that. So a few years ago, these two huge analytic companies called Kissmetrics and Crazy Egg, they got together, did this huge study on basically how people interact with websites. And at the end of the study, they ended up coining a term called website anxiety. And I found this fascinating because I knew it all along. That's why when I use words like, your website has to have a design that converts, the reason for that, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, and they put a sort of pinpointed it, was a lot of times when people go look at a website, they are underwhelmed or overwhelmed, and neither are good places to be. And so what this study found is their websites give basically no information, like they have zero personality, they sound like an online business card. It's just nothing really that grabs the website visitor.
Right.
On the flip side, some websites, especially those that are quote-unquote professionally designed, tend to be overwhelming for the website visitor. So before I go on, there's something really important here that's hard for us as business owners. When we look at our own website, we get it. It looks nice. It makes sense. The design makes sense. Because we know everything about our business. But when an objective third party looks at your site, knowing nothing about your business, oftentimes they have questions or they don't quite understand what you're trying to tell them. And that's the piece that is often missing. So said another way, it's really important that when you look at your site that you don't look at it through the eyes of you, the business owner, but that you look at it through the eyes of your website visitor, who's your potential customer. And that little shift often will help people see their website differently and be like, oh, right, I'm asking people to sign up for this free consultation, but I'm not telling them what the consultation is. I'm not telling them where it takes place. I'm not telling them how long it is. I'm not telling them anything. I know what it is because
Right.
I'm the business owner, but my website visitor has no clue. And when people don't have any idea about what's going on, they're really not going to take action. So with that in mind, going back to most professionally designed sites are overwhelming for the visitor. It's because they don't know where to start. Maybe there's a video playing in the background. That's kind of trendy right now. And again, to us as a business owner, that looks awesome. Look at my cool website. It has this video playing in the background. But to the website visitor, it's usually just this big distraction, and it doesn't really give them any value. So we're constantly weighing, is this thing, whatever the thing is it on the website to sort of make us as a business owner happy and sort of, talk to our ego in a way? Or is there a true purpose fit for why it's there for that website visitor? Does that all make sense so far?
100%. You're on a roll. Keep going. I like this.
Okay. So basically, what I like to do is, I'll either review somebody's website where I'll do hit the record button on my screen recorder and just kind of go through their website and say, if I owned your business and therefore your website, knowing what I know, I would change this, move this here, take this out, explain this more, whatever it might be. Because I'm looking at their website through the eyes of the website visitor, which again is a really important piece to remember. Once we have a layout that is, I use the words clean, organized, there's room to breathe, and everything is there for a reason, that's when we take a look at the next step, which is what's the type of stuff we're putting into that design. But before I jump over to that next step, let's talk a little bit about what are some of the elements that particularly your homepage should or should not have. And now oftentimes, again, if I look at somebody's homepage of the website, it's either really underwhelming, again, we're just kind of talking it's like an online brochure. There's not much of interest, or it's way too much. There's so much going on. There's testimonials, there's videos, there's blog posts, there's opt-ins, there's video backgrounds, there's a scrolling flash of let's say results that someone has gotten. There's a map of where they're located. It's like on and on and on. There's a paragraph or two about who they are. There's some mentions of their staff members. And what I like to say on those sites is, it sounds like it's a great idea, right? Like, let's put as much as we can on the homepage. That way, like, we're giving the website visitor everything right up front. Like, we don't, they don't have to click anywhere. Like, we just give them all everything up front. But the problem is, what ends up happening is that website anxiety term that the two analytics companies created. And this is super important. And, I'm sure anybody listening to this already knows, because you guys are coaches. When anybody is confused or unsure of what to do next, or unsure of really what questions to ask, what ends up happening is generally nothing. In other words, the website visitor, if they're overwhelmed or confused, they're generally not going to spend the time to try to figure out your business. They're just going to click the back button and find the next person on the search results or whatever the case would be. Knowing that that's human behavior, it's critical that the homepage be simplified enough to give people some information to let them know who you are, what you do, what type of person you serve. There's a couple of different things we can do there. But it's basically, it boils down to letting people know that they're in the right place for whatever service they're looking for, and then giving them your one offer, or sometimes people have two. We call it an A-B offer, and just giving them enough information so that they pretty much know, all right, this is different. This isn't like some, brochure that I could pick up, that doesn't really give me any information. I feel like I'm in the right place. This is what I've been looking for. That's really the job of the homepage. The other pages on your site are where you fill other things in. So when people are ready to learn about who you are as a person, they'll read your My Story or your About page. When people are ready to contact you, they'll click your contact page. When they're ready to see a bunch of results that you get for your clients, they'll click on your testimonials page, so on and so forth. But the bulk of the homepage is really just about letting people know that they're in the right place. Does that
Love that, Lynn. Makes so much sense, and that's what I always tell people is, like, they need to know if this is for them or not, right?
Right.
And I love it, because if it's anywhere besides decisive, like yes, this is for me or not, then it goes into that gray space, and they just drift, and then they go away.
Right, absolutely. And I love what you say, like helping coaches transition into a full-time career. That's perfect, because if I'm a doctor looking to get more leads for my practice, you're not going to be my best fit. But if I'm a coach, or I'm looking to become a coach, and I'm looking to start or grow a business, and I come across your site, yeah, that's a fit. Like, I know I'm in the right place. And so something as simple as letting people know exactly who you are, or what your audience it consists of, or what problem you solve, is really what you need to get across on the homepage. And we do that generally through what's called the homepage headline. And, there's lots of ways to craft a headline, but one of the popular ways of doing it is saying, and I'm not saying this is great copy, but it gives you a start. But it's, I help blank do blank without blank. And what that is I help insert your target market here with blank, which is insert what they want, without blank. And that last blank is a common pain point. So for an example, here's what mine would be. I help coaches, trainers, consultants, and professionals get more leads from their website without needing more traffic. So a big pain point for people when they come to me is they're like, geez, like, Lynn, oh my God, like, I'm spending so much money on marketing. Or I haven't marketed at all yet because I don't know what to do, but I'm limited on cash flow, and so I don't want to spend on marketing until I know that my website or whatever it is going to work for me. Either way, people really don't want to spend more money on traffic, especially if they've already tried it and they're not getting leads from the site. In other words, if they're spending $100, they're sending traffic to the site and they get one opt-in, that's a 1% conversion rate. One option is to double your ad spend. Spend $200. Your conversion rate won't change, so it's still 1%. So if you're spending $200 and you're sending now double the amount of traffic, we're assuming that's 200 people. Now you have 2 leads. And that's what, by the way, that's what most marketers do. The answer to most marketers is, for most marketers, is you need to spend more money on ads, spend more money on ads, spend more money on ads. And I always say this next part with a caveat, you have to market, period. I've been in business over a decade. I still have to market. That will never, ever change. So that's just sort of, I'm assuming people know that. So
yes, that will never change. I'm glad you say that, because no matter how many referrals you get, no matter how good you think you are right now, like there's a piece of that marketing and getting your message out there and exploring new avenues. Like you always got to be on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you know what, I'll say this one little piece and then I'll get back to the thing that no one ever talks about. I just talked to a client maybe about 2 weeks ago, and they were saying how frustrated they are because they didn't realize that when they started their business that they would have to be a marketer. And we kind of had this, it was a really nice, great, friendly conversation, but like the bottom line was kind of like, yeah, like when you start your business, like you're going to be servicing your clients, whatever that means for you. But there's this whole other, hat that you're going to put on, and you're going to have to learn things like marketing and, billing or scheduling. There's this whole other business component to it. And sometimes, as funny as it sounds, sometimes I think people forget that when they want to go into business for themselves. So with that being said, if we go back to the example, so that's what most people say, spend more money on marketing, spend more money on marketing. And that's fine, and you might have to do that. But the other option, and this is the thing no one talks about, what if we take the website and change things on the website so that instead of getting a 1% conversion rate, you get a 2% conversion rate? Now, I know no one's like jumping up and down and like jaws aren't dropping, like, wow, Lynn, like that's an amazing difference. But I'm just using it as an example. You can spend the same $100, send the same 100 people to your website, but instead of getting the 1 lead, you would get 2. Now, again, I recognize that no one's like grinning from ear to ear at this magic, but the idea is that once you can increase the conversion rate of your website to whatever it's going to be, 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever you can get it to, once you have a winning combination, that is when it makes sense to then scale your ad spend, whatever your ad spend is being spent on, by the way. What most people do is they just keep throwing money at something that doesn't work, thinking they just need to send more traffic there. And that's one way you can go about it, but I look at it differently. Like, well, let's sort of first shore up this asset that we have, this website. Let's make sure it's designed for conversion, and then let's make sure that the stuff we're putting into the design, the copy, the images, all that good stuff, that it's on point. That way, when you spend that money, which is very precious to all of us, whether you're just getting started or not, when you're spending that money, you know that you're getting the best return for those dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like what you're saying, because you're looking at it just like, don't throw more money at it. It's just like, if we can look at the actual, where are we taking them to? If we're taking them to the website, and it's just like, well, what if we can change things around there to get more from what we're sending?
Right.
Let's fix that first. Why would you just throw more money at something that's, if it's not already working, you're just spending more money on something that's not working?
Right, which is no one likes to do. And I always like to use a car. It's like your car's out of gas, and what most people do is they go and like they'll change the motor or something really expensive and really like difficult, which is what marketing is. And so, and that's great. Like, I don't know, maybe the car did need a new motor, but it's still not going to solve the problem of, well, it also needs gas. And so that's kind of how I look at it. Like, let's make sure the asset is shored up and that it's converting, and then go increase your ad spend.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sorry, keep going. But I like, and that's part of the reason why I like you, is because you're looking at the best approach to it, and you're talking about the marketing aspect to it. And that's what, like you said earlier, a lot of people miss out on, is they're not thinking about their website as a marketing tool, right? Mm-hmm. Versus like, oh, it's just an online brochure. It's like, no, it's not. It's a marketing tool, and it needs to work. So, yeah, continue on. This is great.
Yeah, and I think I shared in one of my previous calls, I have a shortcut here on my computer, on my desktop, and it's just a Word document, and it's titled, Why Did You Buy From Me, basically. So anytime somebody becomes a client of mine, they get an easy checklist of, what's your business name, what's your logo, and they just fill that in, and then they email it to me, and then that's how I build their site. But the first question on there is, basically what made you buy from me? And this is important. It's a little bit of a lesson here. I don't just say, why did you buy from me? I go into it a little bit more. I talk to them about, what specifically was it that, like, literally made you pull out your credit card and say, you know what, I'm going to give Lynn a try here. So I really go into the question because I want people to give me in-depth answers. So that's, whatever. I'll throw that out there as a little nugget. It's overwhelming, the amount of people that they don't say, so I have really inexpensive pricing. And when I first started asking people this, I thought for sure I'd get the standard answer of, you're really low prices, or, oh, your designs were awesome. Like, I thought I'd get those types of answers, right? I rarely get those answers. I almost always get something along the lines of, I felt like you were a real person. Like, I really liked watching your videos. It felt like you were an expert and I could trust you. Or given my past experiences, like trying to build my own site and, like wasting a ton of time, or hiring somebody and wasting a ton of time and or money, I felt like you really understood the business side of it. And I would get all of these answers. And my point here is, I didn't talk to all of these people individually before they signed up. So how was it that they trusted me? How is it that they thought I wouldn't steer them wrong? Why did they think I had integrity? Like, how all these people were forming opinions on me and who I was as a person without ever talking to me? And the answer there is because on my website, it is a representation of me. And that confuses a lot of people. And so here's the big take. If you get nothing else from the call, when you sell any type of service, which I'm assuming everybody on this call is doing, your website is not, you can't follow the same tactics or strategies as an e-commerce site, meaning someone who's selling coffee mugs and T-shirts and, whatever. When you're selling a service business or a service, your website has to be a representation of you. So it has to be, and I'll come back around to this, but it has to be, in my case, warm, open, friendly. I put video on my site because I'm Italian. I talk with my hands a lot. I'm super dorky. I want people to see my facial expressions. I want them to see my personality. Because that is what, and I'm sure some people are like, who is this chick? Like, she's so freaking annoying, I can't stand it. And that's fine. They're just going to go elsewhere. And that's a big marketing thing. Some people might not like what you're putting out, and that's okay. But your target audience will respond to you, and it will draw them in quicker. And so that's the reason that you want your website to actually mimic the brand of your business, which, again, for most people watching, the brand of your business is you. So the thing I'm circling back around to is sometimes, and this happens sometimes with my fitness clients, sometimes their brand is like yelling in your face, get down and give me 20, that kind of a vibe. So if that's the vibe, then that's the vibe that the website should have. So when I say it should be warm, open, welcoming, friendly, if your vibe is different, that's okay. It just has to match the vibe and brand of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So the big takeaway, sorry about that, Jeff. The big takeaway here is your website has to mimic you. And people will start to think that, I shouldn't say it that way, but they'll start to say things like my clients are saying to me, like, well, I think you have integrity. I trust you. I think you could get results for me, so on and so forth. And that is the power of a website. It's 24/7. Someone in any country, if you're an online business, someone in any country can look at it at any time when they're ready and make a connection with you without ever even having talked or met with you in person.
Yeah, Lynn, that's so spot on. And yeah, it's how can, in other words, like how can they get to know the real you from your website? Mm-hmm. Right? It's how do you show and represent your authentic self, from that, that interaction. And that's a big thing. And then it's being yourself, and just the way you spoke about it is so accurate, which is so nice to hear, and it's refreshing because there's so many things out there where there's a disconnect, where there's a distant experience. It's like you're not getting to know this person anymore, and even like one of the things I always tell people is like, whether it's a video of yourself or a picture of yourself, it's like you've got to have it there. Like you're the brand, especially with us as coaches. Mm-hmm. We're the brand, we're the message, and we deserve to be there to begin to convey that so people get to know us as a person. So it's good to hear you talk about this.
Yeah, and here's a great example. So I worked with two different types of I just lost my word, but I'll use the word accountant. And so one was like basic, like he had a basic site, like super boring, like just boring. Yeah. An accountant's website. I don't think I have to say much more. And his site literally gave me. So, but by the way, I was actually looking to hire somebody. So that's what I mean by I was looking at various accountants' websites. So I looked at the site. It was super boring. I got like no information, like none. Like, I mean, he had like services I offer, and I don't know, he had like a bullet point list of things he offered. Most of them I was like, what in the heck? Well, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't know. It did nothing for me as a website visitor. I looked at another accountant's website, and this is where it's interesting, and this is the big lesson here. I looked at another person's website, and she branded herself, and she specifically said right on the homepage that this isn't her exact copy, but you get my point. She specializes in people who work from home offices. And she had a really great offer, like that she would review my last year's tax returns for free and basically guarantee that she can save me money. And like if she couldn't, she'd give me $500 or something like that. I mean, it was like an out of this world, like free offer. Yeah, exactly. And on her website, so I work from a home office. So immediately I was like, boom, I like that. She specializes in exactly what I'm looking for. Because P.S., I was looking for a new accountant in the first place because I already had like a regular accountant. And he was great, and he was thorough, and he was analytical, and he did all the things that accountants should do. But I kind of felt like there were deductions I was missing because I was in a home office, but I don't know what they are. So anyway, I'm looking in a sense, to use a different terminology, I'm looking for like a tax coach. So when I went to this woman's site, and she nailed it. Here's exactly who I help, and here's this really great offer. I was floored, and that is kind of a nice example of you can even be in a super boring industry like accounting, but you can still apply everything that we talked about here, letting people know they're in the right place, giving a really great offer, developing trust and warmth and personality. And this person had video on her site, and she was really like cheery and, all this great stuff. And so long story short, I did the free offer. they started working me through their system or whatever, but each point along the way, it was amazing the programs that they offered. And if they couldn't help, or if I like bought into the programs and it turned out they couldn't save me money, they would refund the price. And they ended up saving me over $30,000. And so it's been this like amazing, like, thank goodness that woman's website was on point enough, because not only, and like I said, I got 3 kids and they're all in daycare. That $30,000 goes a long way when you talk about savings. So thank goodness that woman's website was done the right way, so that it captured my attention. Otherwise, if I was choosing between boring site A and boring site B, like, I don't know if I would have done anything at all. I just would have stayed with my current account, with the account I had at the time. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of little sort of nuanced lessons in that, but I think that's a 30,000-foot sort of view of why it's important, because you never know who's going to be looking at your site and when. So when they get to the site, it has to capture them.
Yeah, that's huge, and it's a big piece to give them some of the foundational pieces of, like, where do I begin? So tell me, and if you don't want to go in this direction, let me know, but, with some of these fundamentals, if you will, or like the tools that you talk about, talk about the thought, like, and I remember you talked about this before, is like the underwhelming, the overwhelming piece, and the simplicity piece of it. Mm-hmm. And I know you had mentioned like Google before, and I love that parallel. I don't want to talk about it, because if you want to talk about that piece, but what I love about the way you do things is how everything is just very straightforward and it's simple, and what the reason is because whenever I've done websites, it's been like this overwhelming process, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, and it's months.
Yeah.
It's months. And even some of my clients that don't end up going with you, and they're like, oh, I have somebody, or blah, 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 and it's like, yeah, I'm talking with them now, and let's say it's, on May now. They're like, yeah, we're going to get it ready for like August. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, well, but why are we going to take 3 months? And I know, because I've been there before. Mm-hmm. But talk about like that process, because what I love about you is it doesn't have to be this like ridiculously taxing, life-consuming project to get your website up.
Yeah, so most people, when they think about getting a new website, especially if they've been through the process before, sort of like shudder in fear. Like, oh gosh, like they liken it to like getting a, going to the proctologist or something. Like, it has to be done in order to, like. Anyway, but it's not fun.
Yeah.
And so that's a barrier that I have with people. And so one of the things that when I started and again, there's business lessons here. When I launched this service, officially, which again was probably 10 years ago, even though I've been doing it longer, I knew immediately that the thing I had to overcome was price, but also the time of getting it done, because most people were used to spending multiple thousands of dollars, and like you said, taking, at best a month. Like, if someone could get a site done in a month, it was like, wow, like that's incredible. And so I decided that my price point would be under $1,000, and I get the site done and live in 4 business days. So those were the 2 things that I had to focus on. In other words, how could I structure my business to get those things done? But beyond that is when somebody signs up, and your clients could probably relate to this. Instead of it just being like, so traditional webmasters will just go, great, send me all your stuff. And then you're kind of left like, okay, like, well, I don't know, like, what do you need? Like, here's a random video I have, like, or here's this. So I talked about this a bit earlier in the call. I just developed a little checklist, and it's really easy stuff. And my clients just go in and they fill in, like, like I said, here's my business name, here's my logo, here's a link to my Facebook page. I ask them for all the things I need, and they just kind of go in and fill in the blanks, if you will. So the process of simplicity is something that I live not only in my personal life, but then also in business life. And that relates to what you were mentioning at the beginning of your question about when I talked about Google before, and it's important for websites to be simple. And what I mean by simple and sort of organized and clean is you always have to say, what is the point of this page on the website? And we talked a lot about the home page and the point of that page being really to let people know that they're in the right place for them and that you're different than, the competition on the next website over or the competition down the street. So harken back to boring accountant website versus the, hey, cheery, happy, I work from home people. So when a site is focused on getting people to take the next step, whatever that is for your business, we need it to be simple and not overwhelming. And Google does a beautiful job with this. If you go to google.com, it's just a search bar. That's all it is. And the reason for that, and it has always been that, the reason for that is because they desperately need and want you to put something in that search bar. And people often get confused because they're like, well, why does Google, who cares if I put something in the search bar or not? But Google really cares because once you put in a search term, Google gets to deliver the results to you. And in those results, as everybody knows, there are sponsored listings. And they are businesses who paid Google to show up for whatever keyword you searched for. And this is how Google makes money. So if we go back to Google's homepage, if they have that search box, and then they start adding news stories, and then they start adding stock quotes, and then they start adding entertainment news, and then they start adding blah, 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 you're more likely to get sidetracked by all of the other stuff they're showing you versus entering something into that search bar. And as we talked about, Google, they just want you to put something in the search bar. That's their entire business model. Put something in the search bar, I give you search results. In those search results are paid listings, and that's how Google makes money. So when we look at that on your website, it's the same thing. What do we want people to do next? And we want to give them enough information so that we know, again, they know they're in the right place, and that the vibe of your site is different than other life coaches, business coaches, finance coaches, relationship coaches, whatever you're doing. It has to feel different, and we talked about how to do that, right? It should mimic who you are. But we then want to give them the next step, whatever that is for your business. It's usually some sort of a call to action. So that's when I say that site should be simple, we can just really go back and look at really popular companies and financially, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they do good financially, like they're growing. I can't think of the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
But profitable companies and companies that have been profitable for a long time, and you can see that simple business model. Apple is the same exact way. Clean site, lots of space, lots of room to breathe. They're not cluttering things. On the flip side, because inevitably someone says, well, yeah, what about Amazon, though? Or, their site's so cluttered. We go back to, well, they're also selling items like coffee cups and T-shirts. So they're e-commerce, and e-commerce is a totally different beast than what we do in terms of selling a service. We just want people to get to a site, get a taste of who we are, that they're in the right place, and take the next step, whatever that is for your business.
Yeah, I love the parallels, and it's so easy to see because they're brands and people, things that we all recognize. So let me ask you this, Lynn, in closing this up for, if someone's in that place where they know they want to take the next step and they need some guidance and they want to use you as a resource, can you just tell them kind of like the best way to, connect with you and kind of what to expect from there? Obviously, I can post with the call and everything, your information as well. But just so for the listener listening now or the recording, just kind of let them know what to expect and how to move forward or even ask you any questions.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I literally love talking about this stuff. So if you have any questions about, anything regarding websites, definitely reach out and connect. You're not going to get bombarded with the hard sales pitch. Obviously, that's not my vibe at all. So I'd recommend two things. One, you can go to my main website, which is lynncoffey.com, and that's spelled Lynn. COFFEY.com. You can go there, you can click on contact and ask me any questions. But the other thing is, while you're there, I follow my own advice. So take a look at my website, because it really is a site that's been put through the paces in terms of adjusting it to increase the conversion rate to be the highest it can be, and start asking yourself, why did she put this here? Why is that there? Why is her about page so long? Why, so on and so forth. But you'll also get a really good visual of what I mean by a website should have your personality. So if nothing else, just go to the website and take a look at how my site's set up, because it's kind of the ultimate demo site in a way. The other thing is, while you're there, like I said, you can contact me if you have any questions, but there's lots of free stuff that you can get on the site that people really seem to enjoy. If you're interested in my services or my pricing or what I do or what designs I offer, that kind of a thing, if you're on Lynn Coffey, just click on Work With Me, and there's a drop-down, and it'll say Build My Site. Or you can just go there directly. It's incontrolwebsites.com. And that's like you're in control of something, so incontrolwebsites.com. And I think there's currently 12 demo sites on there. You could pick the design you like the best, and then there's 2 different plans you can pick from, whether it's a starter plan for those either have like serious cash flow or they're just getting started, or sort of the business plan, people that are more established or have big plans in the business. So you can see the pricing and what's included and all that fun stuff. And then if you decide to come on board, like I said, you'll just get that checklist, which is, again, a really simple way of, great, you're on board. Now I'm not going to totally overwhelm you and just be like, send me all your stuff. I'm going to help you through the process so we can plan out each part of the site. And then once I have that, I take care of everything else and get the site live for people. So that's, again, it's a really easy process. I show you exactly what you get, exactly what the price is, so you know everything kind of up front. But whether you're looking to be a client or not, if you just have questions, like I said, reach out, because it's an odd passion to have, I'll give you that. But I just think websites are literally the most underused asset when it comes to marketing. And I know they're not the sexiest things to talk about. ClickFunnels and all that stuff is really hot right now. But again, I kind of go back to the website piece, because it's just so underutilized, but it's such a foundational piece of building a business.
Absolutely, Lynn. Yeah, and that's why we want to talk to someone like you, because you want someone who's going to just like flip out and be excited about something like this, because that means you're knowledgeable about it and you're excited about it, and that's what we want, right? So, yeah, Lynn, I thank you for your expertise. I thank you for being a part of what I do and helping my clients out, because it's always, like I said in the beginning, there's always been that missing piece, and I feel like honestly, like I'm more complete as a business owner as I help coaches transition full time, because now I have, I always have my things that I refer people to, because I believe in them and I know they can help them and I know they need them. And I feel like so comfortable. Like I said, for so many years I didn't have that piece, and I felt like it was missing. So I thank you for that, and especially for taking the time to do this call today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the kind words and for inviting me on the call.